Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, back with another discussion video. So I wanted to do a bit more speculation as to what expansion pack number 10 could be, which is supposed to be announced sometime within the coming weeks. I don't know if this could really happen, but I've seen some people talking about it lately, and I thought, maybe I could still entertain the idea. Just what if? So earlier this year, we actually had two surveys, but one of them talked about the idea of snow activities. And here's the survey in case you need a refresher, or at least a specific part of it that talked about it, where it says The Sims 4 Seasons include snow activities such as skating in an ice rink and playing in the snow. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the highest and 1 is the lowest, how interested are you in these other snow activities? And they listed ice fishing, snowboarding, snowmobiling, ice skating on a pond, cross-country skiing, mountain climbing, downhill skiing, sledding, and snowshoeing. When I first took this survey, I already was suspicious of this because, wow, a whole section dedicated to just snow activities. That made me think that they are very likely doing a winter-themed game pack in the future. And even in the previous section of that same survey, they talked about designing and running a resort and being able to vacation there, and also the ability to own a second home, which I could imagine also going hand in hand with that sort of like winter resort sort of like idea. And I think that, well, what if they actually did it as a full-on expansion pack instead of a game pack? I know that sounds like a pretty wild idea, but especially considering that we got a whole expansion pack for eco-friendly gameplay and a whole game pack for Star Wars, I feel like I shouldn't rule it out at this point. I can't deny that this has been a pretty weird year for The Sims 4, now that the year is close to being done. And I think especially with Eco Lifestyle having been made an expansion pack instead of a game pack blurs the lines between what is a game pack and what is an expansion pack, because I know they have said before that game packs are meant to be more niche ideas where they go more in depth with that idea than it had if it had been put into an expansion pack with other stuff instead. While I actually do like Eco Lifestyle as an expansion pack, it probably would have had less features if it were a game pack. Bugs aside, I think the pack turned out pretty well, but I still can't deny that, yeah, I mean, I think the theme would have been more niche, and I actually was hoping that we would get an eco-friendly pack, but I always envisioned it as a game pack. It never occurred to me that, oh, maybe an expansion pack would make sense? Especially if they were to put snowboarding and downhill skiing in, because we've had snowboarding before in The Sims Vacation and in The Sims 3 Seasons, but it was confined to a half-pipe, which would be a lot easier to make than having actual slopes that you can go down. So I think they would need to put a lot of work into technology to make downhill snowboarding and skiing work. So maybe the slopes would have to be one giant object embedded into the world or something. That's just my guess on how they would need to do that. So they would have to make a pretty specific world for that to work, and hopefully they would have more than one slope so there can be some variety there. So it can also kind of like emulate the sort of like ski resort life better, where you do have the bunny slopes, but then you also have the sort of like black diamond slopes where they're much harder, and if your Sims aren't skilled enough, then yeah, they could wipe out, or worse, die. Then again, maybe they wouldn't have them die because it would probably be very violent, and they didn't put car crashes in any of the previous Sims games, which I can also see why they would not do that. So maybe not dying, unless it was something really cartoony, like, oh no, there happens to be a cow plant that is hungry on the side of the course or something, but that would be pretty ridiculous. To think of it, I'm a little surprised they did not suggest the return of Bigfoot in that survey. I know Bigfoot was not really liked well at all during the Sims 2 days, but I could still imagine them including Bigfoot anyways, because it would add a lot of that Sims quirkiness to the overall pack. Even for cross-country skiing, you would need a pretty decently sized neighborhood to do that in, otherwise you'd get around the whole place way too quickly and it wouldn't be as fun. So I think then with an expansion pack budget instead of a game pack one, you would have more room to actually pull that off decently. With the mountain climbing that was mentioned, unfortunately, I can very easily imagine that being a rabbit hole instead of it being a fully climbable mountain that you can watch your Sims go all the way up, even if it were to be a full-on expansion pack, because they kind of did that twice with the Island Living expansion pack, where there was that cave that you go into, and then there was a very similar sort of thing in the Star Wars game pack that came out pretty recently. It would be pretty cool if I was wrong about this, because I could imagine having some really cool photo opportunities with Sims climbing the side of the mountain. Just think about Breath of the Wild, like how you could take some cool pictures of Link climbing a mountain before you fall down because it's raining. So yeah, that would be really cool. I love taking pictures in The Sims, but yeah, I can easily imagine a mountain climb actually being a rabbit hole, just like cave exploring. I also find it interesting that they suggest the ideas of ice fishing and ice skating on a pond. I think those should have already come with seasons. I even remember when I did my seasons wishlist video, ice fishing was something that I brought up, but nope, did not happen, and I could imagine both of these ideas just being exclusive to the new world because, well, we got ocean swimming once again in Island Living, and then we did get it again in Discovery University with Brightchester, but they have not patched any of the older worlds to have any kind of ocean swimming, so I imagine this is how it would go for those other features as well. But especially combining that with some of the other ideas from the survey, like being able to run your own resort and being able to own a second home, so maybe you could just own a cute cabin near the top of the mountain, something like that, then I could really just imagine EA justifying that in their minds as like a whole expansion pack instead of a game pack. Though, of course, there's the whole issue that I haven't talked about until this point in the video about the backlash that would happen. I don't think it would be as bad as the Star Wars game pack, but I think it would still be pretty bad because, I mean, remember how my first pet stuff went? I don't think anybody has forgotten that. I still see jokes made about that pack to this day. So I think it would be kind of like that, but I have talked about in previous videos how I think they could pull it off so that it is a bit more compatible across players who own just the base game or even just other packs but not seasons. And I would imagine they would pull this off by making it so that with the new world, if you do not have seasons, it would be kind of like the winter part of Vacation Island in The Sims 1 where there's snow on the ground all the time, so you're not limited. Like, you can still participate in all the snow activities. It's just that you won't have snow in any of the existing worlds. You still need to get seasons to get that. And also, when you have seasons, then you could experience different seasons in the new world, so it would actually not be a permanent snow all the time. It would only be during the winter, maybe late fall and early spring as well, so it doesn't, like, all go away straight away. So it is still, like, longer time for snowy conditions in that world. But then you could even experience some summer activities. Like if you have Eco Lifestyle or Discovery University, you could take your bike up to a bike trail around the mountain. So that could be really interesting as well. So the snow would melt eventually if you have seasons installed. But then if you don't, yeah, then you can just enjoy the seasonal activities all year round because it's not like the weather will be changing in your game anyway. Alright, but one other thing, if you do have seasons and this theoretical pack, then you would also have to occasionally deal with blizzards, and it would also then make it very difficult to go skiing or snowboarding, at least without any accidents. And I wonder if they'd even go to the lengths of avalanches. I think that would be pretty difficult to pull that off correctly animation-wise, but that could be interesting. Maybe that could be the way of having Sims dying while skiing and snowboarding. Though I'm still wondering if that would still be too violent for The Sims. But I do think that is how Maxis would pull off a winter-themed expansion pack without the DLC for DLC feeling being as horrible as it was with my first pet stuff. If you didn't have seasons, you wouldn't be cut off from the majority of the pack's content. Instead, you would have nearly everything. In the end, I still feel like doing a pack like this, whether as a game pack or expansion pack, is a bad idea. Sure, some of those ideas like snowshoeing, skiing, and snowboarding on actual slopes would be new ideas never done before in The Sims, but I don't think that would be enough to persuade the majority of the Sims community away from thinking that all of this should have been included with seasons. Even though, in a practical sense, if they had included those features from that survey in seasons, they would have been just not very well executed at all. It does not change the fact that The Sims tends to be a very expensive game. It tends to get expensive really quickly if you do want the complete collection. So if you do want, I guess what you would say would be like the complete Seasons experience by getting a Seasons expansion pack and a Winter Resort expansion pack, those would come to $40 each, and that's not even including how crazy expensive these packs are in other countries. That it's like 40 times 2, that's $80 just to have seasons as well as the whole Winter Resort experience that would go well with it. With The Sims 3 and The Sims 4 in particular, I feel like it's comparable to buying a video game console, where you buy a base platform and add onto it with more games. Except in this case, the base is much cheaper, but then the price shoots up to the cost of buying a console when you include the huge amount of DLC available for them. At the end of the day, EA is a business, and a really huge one at that, so they are going to do what they can to make money. So I can still imagine the idea of a Winter Resort expansion pack being somewhat likely. At least I would personally enjoy it a lot more for what it would be than a Murder at the Mansion expansion pack. Thank goodness that ended up being completely fake. I could still imagine this pack becoming a reality, even if it's not next, even if it did not happen until next year, because especially since game development takes a long time, it still would be a pretty quick turnaround to have this already come true in the same year as that survey. Besides, I think there are other ideas that are more important right now, like more family gameplay and hobbies. I mean, I guess a Winter Resort expansion pack would help with the hobbies a little bit, but that would be very specifically geared towards winter and more athletic Sims. Whatever happens though, I guess a retailer will leak expansion pack 10 soon, and then we'll have a good idea as to what at least the theme of this pack will be, because let's face it, this happens especially with the expansion packs, more than the other pack types. And yeah, maybe it'll even happen this week, I don't know. I wouldn't be entirely surprised, but feel free to let me know in the comment section below what you think of the idea of Winter Resorts getting a dedicated expansion pack. And be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with my latest content from The Sims, Paralive, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!